Talking about what is truth. What is truth? This will be a really fun discussion. Hopefully. Hopefully it'll be fun. But since we've learned that this class splits 50-50 in a lot of ways, then it'll either make it more fun or less fun. We'll see. So, what is truth? Answer me, riddle me this. Which statement is true? You got chocolate almond on the left and strawberry on the right.
Both. Strawberry.
How many say chocolate almond? How many say strawberry? How many say both? How many say neither? All right. Okay. Okay. Now tell me which statement's true.
Medicine to a diabetic.
The one on the, how many say the one on the left? How many say the one on the right? Okay, good. Yeah, what's the difference between those two?
One's opinion-based, one's fact-based.
Okay. What if I told you, guys, assume you mean the opinion-based one is the ice cream one?
Yeah.
I hope? Okay. That's not my opinion about the insulin. Yeah, it's not my thing. Yeah, it's not my jam. Okay, so what if I said that it is a fact that my favorite kind of ice cream is chocolate almond ice cream? It is a fact, by the way. It's my favorite kind of ice cream.
That's true. You.
It's an opinion?
It's a
That's
fact
true.
about you,
It's
but
true.
it's opinion and
But
reality.
It
you
is
find-
true. It's not
but
just
you
my
find-
opinion that my favorite flavor is chocolate almond. It's true that my favorite flavor is chocolate almond.
It's your truth. It's like your personal truth.
Okay.
But it doesn't make that flavor less to all.
Okay. What if I asked you, okay, you're onto something there. What if I said, listen carefully, is it true for you that my favorite flavor of ice cream is chocolate almond?
Yes.
Yes.
She said so.
Okay, that's going to be on my next question. How do you know that the statement on the left is true? When I say, chocolate almond ice cream is the best, meaning my favorite flavor is chocolate almond. How do you know that that's true?
Because you said it was a fact.
Okay. Any way else that you know it's true?
You got really excited when you said it.
I got really excited. I'm really hungry too. This class is right before lunch, you know what I mean? And I just went into my office and found somebody brought a bunch of donuts. Why? I'm about to go throw down on one of those when I get done with this. I'm telling you. Sign-in sheet? Yeah, just pass it there. Okay. What if you went to my freezer and saw, listen, I got to tell you about my family. Did you know that in Alaska, more ice cream per capita? People consume more ice cream per capita in Alaska than any other state in the United States. That is weird,
Wow.
right? They could go make their own. No, we don't know what snow ice cream is. I had no idea what snow ice cream was. Seriously, zero idea until I came here. So let me tell you, in my family, where I had a big family of 5 siblings, so there's 8 of us at home, right? So we had several refrigerators and freezers to keep food and stuff like that. We had a big giant chest freezer, like one of these deals, right? We also had a stand freezer, okay? And then we had a freezer above the fridge, in our kitchen, okay? That freezer above the fridge that was in our kitchen, the easily accessible one, literally called in our family the ice cream freezer. Why? Because it was completely full of different kinds of ice cream. And every time we're having ice cream, we get it out. You know how you got to let it sit to get it soft a little bit so you can scoop it, right? Filled the counter, right, with 20 different kinds of ice cream.
Can I go to your house?
Yes, you are all welcome. Also super excited, and side note, I just bought some tickets for me and my husband and my 4-year-old to go to Alaska for Thanksgiving.
Woohoo!
Pretty excited. Last time I was there was the summer of 2014.
So that your 4-year-old's first visit?
No, it's his second visit. He was there when he turned 1, but he don't remember anything. But there will probably be snow, and I'm really excited. Okay, anyway, ice cream. Yeah, Alaska. Okay, it connected, but so ice cream. Yeah. So if I told you to look in my freezer and say, and there was full of chocolate almond ice cream, what would that prove to you? Anything?
You really like chocolate almond ice cream?
Or
There's a really good sale.
there's a really good sale, right? Or
You're trying to trick us.
okay, or
What's your favorite?
I just happen to have a lot of ice cream. Somebody donated a bunch or something, I don't know, to the cause, all right? I mean, that wouldn't really, it could prove that my favorite flavor is, you could conclude that, but it wouldn't really prove it, you see, because it could prove all these other things too. You see that? Where is the only proof for that statement? That, yeah, right here, right? The evidence for that statement,
Is it here or is it here?
it's privileged, well, I mean,
Is it-
here
is it
meaning
here or
me,
is it
but
here?
like in my mind, right? Yeah, because your lungs and sternum don't give thoughts or anything like that.
I was thinking
Right.
the heart,
Yeah, your heart just pumps. Yeah, so like, right, my mind, okay, me, myself, right, myself, okay, we, I just said we.
Goddamn, like split personalities.
Okay.
Somebody go give me that donut. Okay, so this is not gonna be good. Okay, so me, right, myself, okay, I have privileged access to that information, right, to that evidence. Okay, I mean, even if you like tore open my brain and looked at it, right, you still can't find it in there, right? It's in my mind. I'm the only one that has that information. I'm the only one that has evidence for that information, right, for that fact. Okay, so the only way that you can find it is by asking me about it. Now, we tend to believe people when they give their opinion about something because it's that kind of statement, right? Like, what if, Van, what's your favorite kind of ice cream? Chocolate? Just chocolate. Not like double chocolate or just plain old classic. Stick back to the basics. Okay, so if I said, Van says, what's your favorite flavor? He says chocolate, and I say, prove it. What does that even mean, right? So he could say, all right, I'll eat 20 bowls right now. What does that prove?
He can down
That he's a darn hog is what that proves, right? I mean, not a whole lot else, okay? Or maybe he's really hungry. I don't know. He's like, we need to go get that insulin or something. I'm not sure, right? Like, okay, it doesn't really prove that. And it's a silly question to ask. We never ask that question, right? Because it doesn't make sense in the context. It's not the kind of question that we ask for proof, because when people express their opinion, that's proof enough because the evidence comes from them. Does that make sense to you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what if I were to say, insulin is medicine to aid a diabetic, and you said, prove it? Does that make more sense?
Yeah.
Okay, how would I go about doing that?
Through explanation and test.
I could inject a diabetic, right, and
Yep.
see if it worked. What else could I do? That sounds a little cruel, but what else could I do?
Scientific evidence.
I could go, right, Google scientific evidence, go ask some doctor I know, right? All of these are viable options, and all of you are like, yeah, that sounds reasonable, right? These are things we do when we're trying to find out if something's true or not. Where is that evidence? Is it inside me or outside of me? Outside of me. All things being equal, does everybody have equal access to that information? Can you all go ask a doctor? Can you all go stick a diabetic? Can you all go, right? That's bad.
We can, but.
Sorry, this is being recorded. Sorry. I mean, can you all do that, right? All things being equal. Those are things that are all accessible to you. So the evidence for that claim is outside. It's public. Okay? Anybody can go access it at any time. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the difference between these two types of statements, okay, is where the evidence is located. One is a private truth. One is a public truth. These are two different types of truth. Okay? When we say that we're going to study what is truth, what I'm talking about is the objective, the public type. Okay? We got a pretty good handle on what the private type is. We kind of just know that, right? It seems intuitive as we develop, as we, learn things, we develop our own opinions, and like it seems natural we understand what it means to express our opinion, we understand what it means to understand and accept other people's opinions, like we get that, right? That's not that bad. Plus, it's just you. The evidence is all right here. There's not a whole lot of other steps associated with it. What people do seem to disagree on is this stuff over here, right, on the right. That make sense? We get disagreements over there. And not so much about this statement, but what about other statements? What other objective statements do you know that people disagree on? is climate change real? Or the statement maybe, climate change is real. And people are gonna go yes, and people are gonna go no. Now that can be somebody's opinion, right, also, but what they're claiming is, look, whether you think it or not, whether you believe it or not, whether you like it or not, climate change is real, not just for me, because that seems stupid, it's everybody, right, just me and my climate following me around, right, climate change is real. No, they're saying that's true for everybody, whether you like it or not. That's an objective claim. So what they're asking you to do is go find evidence outside of me, outside of Al Gore, outside of anybody else, right? Go find evidence for it, and then let's assess. Okay, what's another claim that people disagree on? An objective claim. Ben?
Marijuana.
Okay, so marijuana, let's make a claim out of it. Marijuana, the use of marijuana should be, like, it should be unrestricted for medicinal use?
Yeah.
Something like that?
Yeah, essentially.
Okay, so the use of marijuana should be unrestricted for medicinal use. People say no, people say yes. Now, is that an objective claim or a subjective claim?
Objective.
If I said yes, marijuana should be unrestricted for medicinal use,
That's your opinion.
that's my opinion. Where to find out if that's true, if that statement is true, where would you have to go? Outside of me or inside me?
If it's your opinion, you'd have to go in.
Okay, so listen to the words. I think that marijuana should be unrestricted for medicinal use.
There's no.
To find out if that statement is true, that I think that marijuana should be unrestricted, where would you go? Inside me or outside me?
Inside.
Yeah, so it's a subjective claim. If I said marijuana is restricted currently for medicinal use, where do you go to find the evidence for the truth of that claim? Yeah, you see the difference?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, so let's go over these a little more formally, okay? The first type we're talking about is a subjective or private truth, meaning the person who knows that truth has privileged access to that truth, okay? That means also that only the person that holds that truth, because it's privileged, they're the only one that really knows if it's true. So I could have been lying to you, and my favorite flavor of ice cream is not chocolate almond. But you would never know that.
Yeah, that sounds like the only thing that was doing is work, and that would have to go like on the background, like, are you credible? You know,
Right? And even then, the closest you could get is real sure. Right? But you couldn't be positive, right? And that's exactly why. Because I'm the only person that holds the evidence for that truth. Okay? Good. So another way to say that is the facts that support those kinds of claims are inside the mind of a person. Okay? Like we were saying, here or here, right? The facts that support that claim, that chocolate almond ice cream is the best, or that I like chocolate almond ice cream, or even the fact of the statement of I think that it's my opinion that medical marijuana should be unrestricted for medicinal use, that statement, right, is inside here. Yeah.
what about that, is it a polygraph test?
Mm-hmm.
How accurate is that?
Yeah, decently. But there's so many factors. It depends on the question being asked. It depends on the person being tested. It depends on the person testing. I mean, there's lots of factors in there. But
There have been many different things about people passing it, even though, like serial killers and all that.
Yep.
Pass it because they know how to control their heart rate and everything.
yeah, putting tacks in their shoe and stuff like that. Yeah. Okay. So because the facts that support this kind of statement are located inside the mind of a person, that means we don't need additional external evidence, right? That's what makes it silly to say, well, my favorite kind of ice cream is chocolate almond, and you say prove it, and we all kind of chuckle because it sounds stupid, right? We don't need additional proof, because when somebody expresses their opinion, that's truth enough for that kind of statement. You good? Okay, so objective or a public type of truth. This is a public truth, meaning no one person has privileged insight. Notice it says privileged insight. It does not say opinion. People can have different opinions about a certain type of objective truth, but they don't have privileged insight into it. They see it, they access it just like everybody else. Okay? So not one person has privileged insight. Anyone can know if it really is true or not. Anyone can know, because the facts that support that claim are located outside the mind of a person, not inside. In other words, you could go look it up on Google. You can go ask a doctor. You can go ask a scientist. You can go read a book about it. You can go conduct an experiment, right? That's the kind of statements those are the things that you can find external evidence for. Now, what if I said, okay, here's an objective claim. The world is round. The earth is round.
That's what I was just about to ask.
And somebody
Flat
said,
Earth.
no, it's not. Which, by the way, in the last class, I found out this flat earth thing is like a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Really?
it's the Flat Earth Society.
Really?
Lord, help us. A, that's stupid, and B, there are so many other things to argue about, right?
Oh, you wouldn't believe, they believe science is a religion of man, and that scientists are the priests. Yeah.
Hold me back.
It's a
Okay.
huge, like, conspiracy theory deal.
So, if they said, there was the video somebody told me about of a guy holding a lemon and talking about a plate, talking about this is why Houston is flooded.
He was like 13.
You guys familiar with this? Okay, so not a guy, a boy. Okay, so are you familiar with this? He said this is his proof that the earth is flat. Because if the earth is round, look, and a bunch of water gets dumped on it, look, it just runs off.
Yeah.
But because the earth is flat, look, water gets dumped in a certain place and it stays there. That's why Houston is flooded, because the earth is flat.
And
Well,
there's
then
one
how does
thing
he
about-
explain-
Legit, that's what he said. Okay, legit, that's what he said. So now, is he providing, think carefully, is he providing external evidence for his claim? Yes, he is, right? Can you go hold a lemon and pour water of it and hold a plate and pour water on it? Could you do that?
Yeah.
Yes, you can conduct the same experiment, right? He is making an objective claim, meaning the world is flat, not just in his mind, not just for him, right? Like if he keeps walking, he's the only one that's going to walk off the edge. He thinks everybody's going to walk off the edge. He's claiming that for everybody, right? It's true in everybody's world. What he's claiming is, this is the way reality is. The earth is flat.
There's no breath.
That is that's an objective claim. And so to do that, to try to prove that, he's asserting that he's bringing in external evidence. Okay? So he's trying to support, he is making an objective claim. He's supporting it with external evidence. Now the second question is, how good is his evidence? It's terrible. It's real sucky. Okay? Bad evidence. So look, just because you have external evidence doesn't automatically make your objective claim true. It just means that you're now in that ballpark. You were trying to make an objective claim. Now what we have to do is assess your evidence. At least you're pointing towards external evidence. If the guy on the video said the earth is flat, you said prove it. He said, because I feel it in here. You'd be like, what?
Yeah.
You're dumber than I thought. I didn't know it was possible to be dumber than that, but it is, okay? So, right, that's silly, and that's not convincing. That's not going to get his knowledge from his brain to your brain. Knowledge, in quotation marks, okay? That's not going to cause that transfer, right? You're not going to be convinced. But that's not the claim he's making. He's not claiming just that he thinks the world is flat. He's saying that, but also he's saying the world is flat. Do you see the difference between the two? Okay, so in order to support that claim, he's trying to bring external evidence. So he's trying. He's just failing.
That's like the one guy who laid like a leveler, has a little bubble in it. He sets it on the ground and it's like, if the earth is round, why is it?
Yeah, I heard about that, and a guy like going in an airplane, like flying in an airplane, holding a level, saying, "See, the earth is flat."
Yeah.
That's all good.
Don't believe the religion of man. Don't
I'm
believe the
glad
science.
that all of you are going, oh my God, because if you were, you're like, huh. And I'd be like, what? We'd be having a different conversation right now. So if that's you, just hide it from me, okay? Because I don't want to know. Okay. that you're seriously considering this. So that's the type of truth we are. Now, right now we're not in the mode of assessing whether or not something is true. I just want you to see that if you're trying to make an objective claim, you're going to bring in external evidence that everybody can see equally. Okay? Okay. Good. These are the two types of truth we're talking about. Now, what's going to happen is that we're going to examine 4 theories that tell us what truth really is. Okay? What truth really is. We're going to examine 4 theories. The first one is called relativism. The second one is called coherentism. Third one, pragmatism. Does that sound familiar? What does pragmatism mean?
If it works, it's true.
Works, right? It's all about if it works. Okay, good.
That would have been good.
Yes, it would have. And then the final one is correspondence theory. Now, I will tell you that there are other theories, but these are the top 4 as far as like these are what people seriously consider. Okay? I will also tell you that most philosophers consider one of these to be more legit than the other 3. Okay? Not to say that they're definitely right, or that people definitely think along with them, but they think that one of them has more clout to it than the others. Okay? That's what we're going for. That's what we're prepping for. Okay. Now, one more thing. Now, hang on. Don't do me a favor. Do me a solid. Don't write this down yet. I'll give you some time after we talk about it. Okay? Let's explain it first, and then I'll give you some time where I'll shut up and you can write. Okay? So look, when we talk about a theory, we got to figure out, okay, if it's going to be a theory at all, a theory about truth, then all the theories, we want to try to be fair, right? So we want to do things like judge the theories on the same basis of the same criteria, right? Hold them to the same standard and see how they measure up. That seems fair. But we also want to make sure that if it's a real theory about truth, that it addresses everything that it ought to address. And by address, I mean it makes space for, like there's space in that theory for this. That theory talks about that. Does that make sense to you? So like when we're talking about a theory of truth, it makes sense that a theory would, number one, give us a definition of what truth is. If it doesn't ever do that, it'd be really hard to call that a theory of what truth is. Is that clicking with you? Don't overthink it. It's real simple. Okay? It also seems to make sense that if we're going to talk about theories of truth, then it would make sense that a theory of truth would also have an answer for what makes a statement true and what makes a statement false. Okay, they would say, well, I think this, right? They kind of put their flag in the sand and say, this is what I think as a theory. Does that make sense? If it never says that, then it has a hole, right? It's not addressing everything it ought to address. Okay? Also, it must make space for, it must allow to exist both types of truth, subjective and objective. Because we see that they both exist, right? We see that we have this subjective, this private truth, okay, like favorite flavors of ice cream. And then we also have this objective truth, like medicine to aid a diabetic. We see that there's 2 types. So any theory that says there's no subjective truth, there's no opinions, we're going to go, nah, you're not in the running. Because we already see that that's the case. We have opinions, okay? Or if we say that there's a theory that says there's no objective truths at all, nothing that you can make an external case for. Well, that seems silly because we just saw one, right, with the insulin. Okay? So it seems like if it's going to be a good theory, then it has to allow for both of those types of truths to exist. You good? Ish? Okay. And then also, here's some examples of truths that the theory must allow for. Okay? Mathematical truths like 2 + 3 = 5. If you have a good theory, if you have a theory that somehow says that 2 + 3 doesn't have to equal 5, that's a bad theory. Okay? It has to jive with things that we already know to be true. Look, your intuition and your experience are really powerful things and very, very valid springboards. Okay, valid starting points. Okay? So if you're going to have a theory that's going against everything you've ever experienced in the world, that's probably a bad theory. I'm not saying it guarantees it's a bad theory, but put it at the bottom of the stack and consider some others first. If you're having to throw out everything you know in order to adhere to this theory, you better be being paid a lot or something like that, right? I mean, it's not worth it, okay? It's got to jive with what's happening. Okay, physical laws like gravity. If you have a theory that says gravity's not a thing, it's not true. Right? Like laws of physics aren't real. Okay, what? Then that's not a good theory. Okay? Everyday things like the amount of money in your checking account or bank account. Okay? If you have a theory that says, meh, who knows? There's no way to know for sure is a phrase my husband and I use all the time. I don't know. There's no way to know for sure, right? Or even better, the amount of money in your bank account is whatever you want it to be. And not just that makes you happy. It's a happy feeling to think about, what if I had $1 million in there, right? You guys are like, you're shooting for $1 million? What's your deal? Like, go big or go home. If I'm not just talking about the happy feeling it gets when you think, oh, what if? I'm talking about a theory that says if you think there's $1 million in my checking account, then there literally is $1 million in your checking account. If that's what the theory says, that's a weird theory and probably a bad one. And I wish it were true, but it's just not the way the world works, right? Okay. Finally, moral truths. It's got to jive. Now, we disagree a lot on moral truths, but there are some things that we seem to agree on. Okay? Moral things like it's wrong to torture people for fun. Yeah. Okay? It's wrong to torture people for fun. Sometimes when I talk about that, I put babies in there instead of people. Okay? That kind of punches it up a notch, right? It's wrong to do that. It's wrong to do that for fun. If somebody thinks, or if a theory of truth says, really, who's to say? I don't know. That's a bad theory. That's a bad theory. Do you really want to live in a world where that's the case? Where people are like, if that's your thing, go for it. What? No. It seems like there are some things that are just wrong. Killing humans for no good reason. Now listen, we may disagree on what that good reason is, but we all agree that to kill someone for no good reason is wrong. We may disagree on whether war is a good reason. We may disagree on whether child sacrifice is a good reason, right? But they're not killing humans for no good reason. We just disagree on what that reason is. Okay? So if you have a theory of truth that's like, who's to say? That's a really scary world, and I'm going to suggest that you find another theory. Okay? Also, subjective truths. It's got to allow for that, like your favorite food, sport, season of the year. I mean, you got to have space for that in your theory. Okay? Are we good? Mm-hmm. So, a good theory has to address all of these things, and it has to address it in a satisfactory way.
Can we write it down?
Okay, go.
You showed me LRC, right?
Yes. Okay, so I'm going to have you write those. Hang on, I'm just looking at what's... Okay. I'm going to have you write those, and when you're done writing, grab your journal, Now, when you're done writing, I have some instructions for you, so don't leave yet.
So I was thinking about that whole thing about the moral truths, and